Hi, guys, Dr. Gaynor here, and I wanted to come and talk to you for just a few minutes about how to not give up on yourself. Interestingly, or maybe not, but giving up on ourselves is or can be such an easy and kind of automatic thing for us. I find that with talking with clients, and just in real life, we are a lot more gentle, a lot better cheerleaders for everyone else than we are for ourselves. And so when it comes to things that are hard for us or things that don't go well, sometimes, unfortunately, our automatic response can be to give up, to let the dream go, to stop pursuing that thing because failure, let's face it, it sucks. But if you have read or researched any information about anyone that was successful, they failed a lot of times before they got it right. But that's not the part that we hear. Whenever we hear success stories, we hear about all that you have achieved. But I wonder that if we stop to look at the people that we admire and really read through their full story, I think that we would see a lot more instances of times where they failed, where something didn't go right, where they struggled. And the reason why they were successful is not because of luck or some great skill that they had better than others, but probably perseverance was one of the biggest reasons why they succeeded. Some of the most successful people did not get it right the first time. I think that that is actually pretty rare. And so the struggle that can happen is that we are looking at social media and we see the best versions of people. I don't know about you, but the pictures I post are never of me in my pajamas with my bonnet on, looking the way I would want no one to know that I look except for my close friends. And in my times of despair and sadness, I am not posting about how I'm feeling. We tend to display the best versions of ourselves, and that's normal. However, we tend to post the best versions of ourselves, which means that there is probably 90% of what goes on in our lives, our emotions, our struggles, that we're not talking about. And so, first of all, how to not give up on yourself, let's have a realistic expectation of how to reach goals, of the fact that in order to reach my goal, I'm probably going to fail a few times. I have had some struggles when it comes to business in terms of, I would say one of the biggest struggles has been hiring, finding good people, finding reliable people. You find reliable people, and with the job market, people are looking for the next bigger, better thing. Specific positions based on how much they pay are going to have a lot of turnover. And so I actually talked to a friend about that the other day. And what I just said is what she said. There's going to be a lot of turnover in certain positions. But I started feeling like, am I doing something wrong? Why does this keep happening? And I had to create a realistic view of what that looked like. So what that meant is talking to other people in the same position and knowing that it was not just me. It was not just me having this issue, but this is a universal issue. And so how do I adjust and change to find the best applicants? And how do I also allow myself to be okay with the fact that you can do all you can, but you cannot control someone else. And so inevitably people are going to leave or things are going to happen. I cannot control that. And the more I wanted to try to control it and felt like there was something I could do to fix it, the more stressed I got. And so my office manager and I made a pact the other day that, first of all, we're not going to make any rash decisions, but we're also going to be realistic about the fact that things happen. So again, what is your dream? What is the thing that you've given up on? And do you have a realistic view of what success in that area looks like? If you don't, I'd say it's time to look. I say it's time to read a biography about someone who maybe you admire and all the failures they had to have before they got it right. In my almost 8 years in business now, I can say now, as I am more removed, that a lot of my choices and my growth as a leader were through the difficult times. I learned a lot of tough lessons just in kind of doing the wrong thing and maybe not having the best practices in place, or maybe not having the practices I needed to have in place, or just developing boundaries when it came to employees or our hiring process. There have been so many mishaps and mistakes that we've made, but we are better for it because now we know what not to do. And sometimes knowing what not to do is better than knowing what to do, because you have experience behind you and you can really kind of figure out what works and what doesn't. And you start to pick up on different cues that maybe you didn't before. So again, experience is the best teacher. Do you have a realistic view of what success looks like? And what if you gave up right before it was going to happen? What if you are on the verge of something amazing and you gave up right before that thing could flourish? You've put in years to whatever your goals are, to who you want to be, what you want to achieve. Don't give up on yourself. And so my next thing would be, what is your thing? What is your what? What is your reason? I have a client who maybe doesn't always hold herself in the highest esteem, but she has a daughter and that is her reason. And so when I'm talking to her about the goals and the things she has to do, her reason is her daughter. So if there is someone or something that you're so passionate about, someone that you need to take care of, that you want to set an example for, or something that's just really important to you, that you've had this thought, you've had this idea, you've had this passion for a while and you can't get it off your mind. Or maybe it's not about a goal or a job or a business. Maybe it's about taking care of your mental health. Maybe it's about paying attention to those things that you know aren't right, but you ignore. You know, we tend to have different sensings and urgings. People call it different things. I call it God, where we are urged to do or not do certain things, where we feel an inkling that we need to go somewhere, or we need to incorporate something, or we need to call someone, or we need to forgive someone that we can't get rid of, and we don't pay attention to it. But what are those things that you need to do to make sure that you are taking care of yourself? You matter. So even if you can't fully see that you matter, who's your what, or what's your what? Let's pay attention to that, because it's extremely, extremely important. And then my other question would be, what is the best advice that you would give someone else that you love? Because we give other people the best advice ever. I can often ask people when they're talking about things that they're struggling with or that they don't feel good about within themselves, what they would tell their best friend or someone they're close to. And it's usually the most compassionate, kindest advice. It's understanding, it's forgiving, it is loving. So why are we not that way with ourselves? We give a lot of people a lot more grace than we give ourselves. We give other people the chance to be human, to make mistakes, to not feel good, to have off days, to make mistakes. I say that again, because making mistakes is a part of life and we're all human, right? But we're so hard on ourselves. We don't give ourselves the space to be able to be human. The best thing about this journey is that we get to learn and grow, and we can really identify ways to just be better. And we can see that progress over time. We don't have to stay in the same place, but we're always human. And sometimes we need to give ourselves the leeway to fall and get back up. And then the last thing that I would say is, who is waiting for you? So one of the things I said is, who is your what, right? So I'm talking about that client, and her what is her daughter. But this question is a little different. I believe that we all have a purpose, something that we're supposed to be doing, and there's someone on the other side waiting for what we have. We often compare ourselves. I'm not as good or as pretty or as smart or as well-spoken or as whatever. But if you look at every profession, there are a lot of different doctors. There are a lot of different speakers. There are a lot of different writers. And why? Because we all have something unique to bring to whatever that genre that we are interested in or that we're passionate about. So what that means is there's something special that I have that someone else is waiting for. So again, if we go back to the example of taking care of yourself and your mental health, Maybe it's not a big platform, but who cares? It's about making an impact in your sphere of influence. So maybe it's a family member or someone you see every day, and your change and addressing your mental health will inspire them. People are tend to be a lot more inspired by what you say. Let me correct that. People tend to be more inspired by what you do than what you say. It's not what you say that matters, it's what you do. If you tell me you're going to do something, that sounds great. But if you don't do it consistently, the pattern is you're not a reliable person. You're not a person that sticks to your word. I'm watching the actions that you're taking every single day. And that makes the biggest difference. You never know who's watching how you're living. You never know. I remember years ago when I first really got serious in my walk with God, I didn't realize how it was influencing my friends, different things they would say to me, different things they would encourage me on and say, even though that was not an area that they were strong in or particularly growing in. It looked like I kind of rubbed off on them. We are heavily influenced by the people around us. And no matter how old we are, I think that we forget or we think that we are immune. But I know that the people who I'm around, who I'm closest to, have an extremely important impact on my life, on my thoughts, on the way I do things. And so you never know who's watching you and how that could impact their life. And then they take that to the next person and the next person. We are all change makers. But sometimes, if we don't have a large venue to do it on, we downplay who we are. You are valuable because you're you, because you were born that way. There is nothing else that makes you valuable or takes away your value because you were already made that way. This is about adding to those things and creating a passion where you are the best version of you, whether it's taking care of your mental health, whether it is creating that business, whether it's about what you do with your life in terms of job, whatever it is, there is an impact that you were created to make in this world. And so when we're talking about how to not give up on yourself, let's make sure we're setting realistic expectations about what that looks like. And let's look at examples of people who have been successful and all the failures that they've had. Let's remember that our mistakes are a lot of times our biggest lessons. And then what's your reason? What's your reason for doing what you do? Don't forget about that in the midst of it. There's a purpose for you moving forward, for why you wanted it. Don't give up on that thing. And then what's the best advice you would give someone else? That's usually the advice you need to give yourself. And then finally, who's waiting for you? Who is on the other side needing what you have? Whether it's on a small platform or a huge one, you have something to bring to this world. Don't let the world miss out on that because you matter. Don't give up. This has been Dr. Gaynor.